so section 10, we're talking about American Indians in the East Woodlands. And that is more talking about like the East Coast and anywhere from Canada to North Carolina. So they're talking about how there's plenty of rain from Canada to North Carolina, and they have forests, lakes, and streams. So that's the geological region. So it's asking about region, we'll say forests, lakes, and streams. 2 groups were there. People spoke Algonquian languages, and it includes New York. Forests supplied what they needed. For food, they got deer, bears, beavers, birds, and fish. Women gathered greens, nuts, and berries. They even had syrup. Way back when. Instead of walking through the forest, they would go on canoes. So they made canoes out of wood. They ate fish. We already have fish highlighted, okay? They had drinking water. They built their village nearby. They covered everything with bark. They had long houses. To farm, they would burn away trees and underbrush. This is things they ate. Corn. Ate was orange, correct? Yep. Corn, beans, squash. Basically what they wore, so this is clothes, they used tanned deer skin. Okay. In the fall, they had bark barrels, crops. Ooh, they still even had some crops like sunflower, tobacco, and vegetables. All right. Which option is one example of how the women contributed? It was the duty of the women to hunt. Doesn't say that. They carried out farming tasks. Not much. Okay, you already know that doesn't make sense. It does talk about women farming. So I'm going to say farmers. Burned underbrush, it doesn't say. It did call them women farmers, though. Blank. Main geographical features. That's talking about they lived by the river and the ocean on the east coast. Living by the river on the east coast. Anything else? Forests, lakes, and streams. There were forests.
Excuse me, iTunes needs your attention.
Forests, lakes, and streams. Alright, main food sources. So when we're talking about food, you just have to remember that they had a lot of different types of food that they would eat. When we go up here, it was all the orange, right? Corns, beans, squash, deer. They ate deer, bears, beavers, corn, syrup, I remember, squash, beans. What else? What did we miss? We got squash, corn, beans. Oh, we didn't say vegetables. Sunflower and tobacco they grew, but they didn't necessarily eat it. I think I forgot birds and fish too. Oof, they ate a lot. Birds, fish, and other vegetables. Alright, types of homes. They lived in long houses. I remember that. Long houses. Let's see what we can remember about the long houses. Oh my goodness. They lived in long houses that were 20 feet wide and 400 feet long and made of bark. 20 feet wide, 400 feet wide, 400 feet long, and made out of bark. The type of materials and crafts they made clothes out of tanned deer skin and bark canoes. They made clothes out of tanned deer skin and made bark canoes. All right, the tools. The tools used were, let's see, what tools did they use? They had made traps and bone tools. Okay, traps. Or nets, traps, and bone made tools. Alright. The symbol for the eastern woodlands. So it looks like they have these long houses and they ate beavers, corn, squash, and beans. So let's try to see a long house. Geography. And they have really long houses, so maybe I could use something like this. Like swampy lands. Put this over here. It's like near their houses. So they ate bears, so we have bears. Alright, that will be our symbol to represent the eastern woodlands. Go to our next section. Section 11, the southeast. So this is talking about Gulf of Mexico, Texas, and really the Atlantic Ocean now. They had all these plains. They had a green countryside. They grew a lot of crops. Highlight green countryside. There we go. They built towns, actually, with several mounds as platforms. Dominated. That means there's tons of mounds. They moved dirt one basket at a time. So what you know about the mounds is that they were made of dirt. They had developed a type of corn that grew so fast. So they ate a lot of corn. 2 to 12 mounds. So when it says like, what were they built out? They built 2 to 12 mounds out of dirt. They built homes from posts of young trees plastered with mud and leaves. The roof was made out of leaves. They ate corn. I already did corn, but I'll highlight beans, squash, pumpkins, and sunflowers as other food that they ate. They worked the fields, so this is their tools. Tools were stone, shell, animal shoulder blades fastened to wood. They had blowguns for squirrels and rabbits and bows. So these are all the tools they used. To complete their diet, they also ate plants like sweet potatoes and persimmons. So lots and lots of different kinds of food. They wore deerskin shirts. So if it's asking about clothing, deerskin shirts. But they did have time to make different other things from natural materials as well. Non-workers had no time to grow or find food. Why was this not a problem if you're in the southeast? Okay, Southeast Indians traded. Southeast Indians developed fast-growing corn. Probably that. They had time to do other things because they had this fast-growing corn, so they weren't really that worried about growing or finding food. All right. Discovery far ahead of its time. Awesome. So this is blank. Main geographical features, the main. The main geographical features were so we're looking by the ocean, Gulf of Mexico, so they have river valleys, mountains, and swamps. River valleys, oh my goodness. So the main geographical feature were the river valleys, mountains, and swamps. The main food source was there's a lot of food sources. So they talked about corn, beans, squash, pumpkin, and sunflowers. Corn. They also ate beans, squash, pumpkins, and sunflower seeds. Anything else? Sweet potatoes and persimmons. Types of homes they lived in. Let's go back up and look. Homes made of trees and plastered with mud. That had leaves as their roof. The materials for clothing was deerskin, stones, shells, and bones. Crafts had stones, shells, and bones. All right, the tools were made out of, let's go back to tools. Stone, shells, or animals. Okay. Stones, shells, or animal bones. All right. Southeast. So when we look at the southeast, we're looking at trees. We're also, everything was made out of trees and corn. This was the main thing that they ate. So let's kind of look. Trees and corn. Got some trees.